For the last couple of weeks, you've heard many different speeches, many of them being on new kinds of technology that maybe you weren't aware of. It might also be that you've heard speeches on things that you kind of know something about, topics that you're somewhat familiar, but now you have even more information that you had before. All of these are examples of what an informative speech is supposed to do, which is simply to create in the minds of an audience an understanding of something, or at least a deeper understanding on a topic that they perhaps knew a little bit about, or alternately, that they now have a different angle on how to look at that information. All of those are designed to be informative speeches. But now that we're moving into persuasive speeches, the question becomes, well, what is a persuasive speech? Well, it is to persuade, but that's not leaving very much room for a good understanding of what a persuasive speech is. So if we go back to the idea of an informative speech, we know that an informative speech creates an understanding in the minds of an audience is where they have, a, for lack of a better word here, a nice image, sort of the missing piece of the puzzle, or they begin to see how things fit or how things work together into a larger picture. With a persuasive speech, you have a very different objective going on, and it's not to say that you don't have information in a persuasive speech, because obviously you do. You have to give the audience new and significant information, otherwise they've heard it before. But what it does is it then caters to the emotions that the audience has about that topic, about the consequences of that topic or the effects of that topic. And so really what we're looking at here is the distinction between thinking and feeling. An informative speech will help you think. A persuasive speech will help you feel. And those are obviously in good speeches. That, I would say, is the basic distinction between informative speeches and persuasive speeches. And so you might want to look at this as a spectrum, with informative speaking on one side and persuasive speaking on the other side. And, all persuasive speeches are going to have good information in them, but not all informative speeches are going to make me feel a certain way about a topic. I might go, cool, hey, that's really neat, but that's not truly thinking and that's not truly feeling something different about that speech. So before we get into the definition of what what persuasion means and how it refers to a persuasive speech, I want to give you a quick overview on the rules of persuasion. Generally speaking, people are more likely to change their minds if one of these conditions is met, one or more of these conditions is met. First off, if the change that you're asking for is small, this has nothing to do with puppies. I just wanted a small image here. So if the audience feels like what the speaker is asking for is something that's pretty manageable, they might be more persuaded. So if I wanted to persuade the whole audience to adopt a vegan lifestyle, that's going to be pretty impossible in an 8 to 10 minute speech. And you can think to yourself, could I be swayed to give up meat entirely in an 8-minute speech? If you're a meat eater, your answer is probably no. But if I just wanted to ask you to give up meat for a day, have more beans, have alternate sources of protein, have eggs if we're going to go that direction, and just don't eat, red meat or white meat or fish if you want to go that far. That's going to be a little bit more manageable for people. They say, yeah, I could probably do that for a day. I'm not giving up my Big Macs for the whole month, but I'm going to give up something for a day. So if the change is small, it's more likely people will be able to you'll be able to persuade people to do whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. The second rule of persuasion is if you ask for change over time. So insert the word nagging here. This is why mom or dad or whoever is the person that nags you to do stuff, they don't tell you once, they tell you like 5 or 6 or 7 times. In fact, you've probably heard the phrase, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. And then fill in whatever that command is. When we hear something once, we tend to forget it. So when we get that request to take out the trash or to do the dishes or have you done your homework or whatever the chore is, you say, yeah, I'll do it later. But it's the 3rd, 4th, or 5th time, then finally you ultimately do it. It's the same in persuasive speaking, that just because a speaker advocates for a particular lifestyle change, whether it's adopting more exercise or it's a healthier diet or cutting back on certain kinds of food, it's not going to take once, it's going to take several times. And even if a person goes to a doctor, they're probably still going to have to hear that advice several times before they finally say, okay, I guess I better start doing it. The third rule of persuasion is that people are more likely to change their minds if somehow whatever you're asking for benefits them. And benefit in this sense means that it's going to give me something. That's why I have the dollar rolls here, the money rolls here. So, clearly if I get money from something, that benefits me. If I want to volunteer my time and I say, well, what's the benefit to me? The benefit to me is that I get to put this on a resume. It might turn into a job offering. It does all these good things as I'm trying to move forward to get either a scholarship or get accepted into a university. So those are all beneficial things. So they're somehow going to help me out a little bit. So it's really kind of all about me, and many times it's tangible stuff. The last aspect to this is people are more likely to change their minds if what you're asking for satisfies a need. Now, a need is very different than a benefit. So a need is something that really we need to survive. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is in every textbook in public speaking, we have basic, survival needs, which is we need food, we need water, we need oxygen, we need sleep. Those are all survival needs. And when you are thirsty, or when you're severely hungry, or when you really have to go to the bathroom, that would also be a basic need. Nothing else matters. So getting those needs satisfied then allows you to think about other needs, like safety needs. And, is my house protected? Is my car protected? Do I feel safe in my environment? And then we move up the scale to, ego needs, self-esteem, self-actualization, social needs. All of those come at a higher level. Or do I feel a sense of belonging? Am I able to achieve what I want to achieve in my life? All of that is very important. But when we have those moments where all of a sudden we're back to, I don't know how I'm going to get my next meal. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. All of a sudden those other needs become less important, because the primary needs are physical needs or physiological needs and safety needs. So many times if a speaker can tap into those primary needs that an audience recognizes are important, like the need for shelter, the need for clean drinking water, the need to have enough food. So food insecurity becomes a talking point here. And then we move up the ladder to other safety needs. Those are going to be the things that are really going to drive people to listen to your speech. And the challenge is you've got to match those needs to wherever the audience is. It might be that they're totally fine. They know where their next meal is coming from. They know where their next Starbucks is coming from. They're just working their way up to graduation, So you need to somehow show them that this is of paramount importance. So now that we've looked at both the distinction between informative and persuasive speaking on a very general scale, and we've looked at what's going to get an audience to move favorably in your direction, the next step in the next series of lectures will be the definition of persuasion.